Welcome to the Middle AGEish podcast, authentically and unapologetically keeping it real, discussing all things middle age-ish, a time when metabolism slows and confidence grows. Join fashion and fitness entrepreneur Ashley Badowski, former Celtic woman and founder of the Lisa Kelly Voice Academy, Lisa Kelly, licensed psychologist and mental health expert, Dr. Pam Wright, and highly sought-after cosmetic injector and board-certified nurse practitioner, Trisha Kennedy Roman. Join your hosts on the journey of Middle AGEish.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Middle AGEish. We are doing things a little different this season and not making Trisha do all our intros. So with that being said, I'm Ashley Badowski, and I'm joined here today with my fabulous co-hosts, Lisa Kelly, Dr. Pam Wright, and Trisha Kennedy Roman. We are going to be talking with June Edwards on this episode. She is a renowned psychic medium who has worked on missing persons cases as well as consulted with many well-known paranormal groups. She is a sought-after speaker, best-selling author, which, by the way, I've already downloaded one of her books. And she is also a relationship coach. So huge welcome to you, June.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for being on. We're excited because this is very different than anything we've done before.
But right up my alley.
Yes, right up Ashley's alley. This is all Ashley here.
So super, super excited. First off, when did you first realize that you had something extra special?
Well, I don't know that I would have called it extra special back then, but the first time anything really happened to me, I was about 3 years old. And I remember hearing somebody call my name when I was in bed. So I got up, assuming it was my parents, went in their room, and they're both asleep. I went back to my bed and then started realizing that I was seeing faces all around my bed and all around my room, which was kind of scary. And I pulled the covers up over my head. And as the sun started to come up, I started seeing the shadows of them getting almost face to face with me with the sheet over my face. It was very frightening as a child. And, I continued to know things, basically. And as I got older and I would tell the kids in school stuff that was going to happen before it happened, you really quickly get called a freak.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you have the support of your family and siblings?
No.
Okay.
I came from a very broken home. I'm one of 8 children. My dad kidnapped the last 5 of us when I was around 10. Told us our mom was crazy and that she threw us out. In reality, my mom was a medium, and I didn't know that.
Oh, wow. Is that something you found with other mediums, is that it's kind of a genetic trait?
So everyone has the ability, and I used to teach psychic development and mediumship development, and it's kind of like playing a piano. Some people sit down and just play chopsticks. Other people can apply it and really, try to learn a couple of songs. Other people really want to play the piano and they become concert pianists. Mm-hmm. And I'm like the 6-year-old protege that sits down and plays Mozart. And I believe some of that is genetic. And I also believe that a lot of that has to do with the fact that I died at 27. I went to the other side and I came back here by choice. And when you think of quantum physics and the speed of light, it's more than 300 million miles a second. So in my soul, that energy went into that light and traveled that fast and then came back into my body. My energetic vibration is automatically much higher than most people's. So I can connect in seconds. I can go back and forth to the 5th dimension at will. My abilities are pretty beyond.
Wow. So I've seen a lot, now there's a lot of TV shows and documentaries about On the Other Side. Can you tell us anything about what you remember from that?
Sure. So I didn't see any tunnel or anything. I immediately, when I was injected with a medium that I was allergic to, I immediately just died and was immediately whisked to what I now know to be the 5th dimension, the lowest level of heaven. And it was just amazing on the other side. What I've learned is that the 2 things we take with us are knowledge and feelings, not just love. I used to think it was just love because I was overwhelmed with love when I was there. But I've since brought people through that are still in despair and sadness. So we bring through all of our feelings. but it was just beautiful. It was very white, very light. You don't have a body, so you're not feeling any of the pains or sensations that you would feel with a body. And I suddenly started, I could see everything happening below me, and I could hear everything going on in the hospital, conversations in the hallway. But I suddenly started watching a movie of my life. I had a life review. And it was like sitting in the front row of an IMAX theater. It's so big and huge.
Right.
And the only thing that was in my movie was all the good things that had happened in my life, the moments that brought me joy, things like that. And I often wonder if they didn't do that just so I would make the decision to come back. But that wasn't why I made the decision. I remembered that I had 2 children here, and I have 3 now. I wouldn't have had my 3rd one had I not come back. And I knew that they were the biggest reason that I was here in this lifetime. And that's what brought me the most joy. And as soon as I made that decision, I was back in my body in a second. I was told that it was not my time. I could stay if I wanted to, or I could come back. And I never called it an NDE. I never even heard the term until a few years ago. I always called it a death experience because I knew I died. But what I've learned since is that less than 10% of the people that have an NDE make it to the level that I made it to, or have a full life review. And even less are given an option to come back. They're either told they can't stay and they're whisked right back, or they stay and we don't hear about it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just think it's amazing.
So
I'm just sitting here and
Mm-hmm.
in awe, actually, because this is something that, I've just believed in for a very long time. Do your children show similar gifts or abilities?
They do. So I think most of my family is all psychic. Like I said, I'm one of 8 children. And most people that have a lot of ability, if they don't learn how to control it, you get into drugs and alcohol because you can't shut it off. I was fortunate enough to find the right teachers at the right time and spent a year and a half in training to learn how to turn it on and off like a light switch and understand what's happening, who I'm talking with. And then my education took over from the other side. But my older sister, who's 10 years older than me, we've always had, even when I was younger, such a connection that we'd be calling each other on the phone, and this would happen every night because we would talk every night. And every time we called, we both get busy signals. And it would be an hour before we could get through to each other because we're each calling the other person. And we figure it out. So we hang up and we wait for the other one, and the other one's doing the same thing. So now no one's calling. And then we start doing it again, and they're both busy signals. It's ridiculous. But her and I have always had a really tight psychic connection. And my children, I have 3 boys, and boys are a little less open than girls are with certain things because of the situation with them. One of them is actually military, so he never says a word. But it was funny. He called me up after my mom passed away, and he called me on the phone, and the first thing out of his mouth was, "Mom, I don't believe in anything that you do, right?" I'm like, "Okay." He goes, "But Grandma came to see me last night." I'm like, "I'm sure she did. You were her favorite." He's like, "Yep." She woke me up, and there she was standing there right next to my bed for the longest time.
Oh, those are amazing gifts. That happened to me when my uncle passed because it was very difficult for me. And it was one of those experiences because, like I said, I've believed in this for a very long time. But it really was one of the things that, we had a whole conversation about why I was so sad and that I needed that he was happy and he was good and I needed to move on. So those are, if they do happen and you are open to it, it is, a gift in a lot of cases when that happens.
So if you're just out at the grocery store or something, is that things can just come to you randomly, or do you have to try to connect?
No, I see things all over the place. If anybody saw what I saw, I'd be like watching, an episode of The Walking Dead because they're everywhere. I call them lower vibrational entities, the ghosts that are hanging around. If someone has a demonic attachment, I see that immediately. It looks like a dark shadow that you're giving a piggyback ride to. But if I'm not working, I don't interact with them. So I try not to pick up on their psychic messages either, but sometimes I do. I was in the grocery store one day, and there happened to be a guy over near the door who looked like he was probably, an alcoholic or drug addict when he passed away. And he knew that I could see him, and he was angry. And I said, look, I'm sorry, I'm not working. And he was very upset about it. And he goes like, I know you can see me. I know you can see me. I'm like, look, I'm sorry. So meanwhile, I'm still trying to come by with my carriage.
Right.
So
You're still shopping.
He picked up a package of hot dog rolls or hamburger rolls, and he threw them at me. And he had a lot of energy, and they literally only went probably 3 feet from the shelf. But the poor woman at the cash register stood there and watched this. And she looked at me in awe. She's like, oh my God, did you just see that happened? And I'm like, yep. And I just kept walking.
So how does it work? Obviously, if you're around and you feel the energy, or I don't really understand how it works. For instance, when you do like Zoom and everything, how do you get that? How do you bring through energy like over the internet?
So energy is energy. It's like a radio station, right? How do we pick up the radio station from thousands of miles away, right? Yeah. We have a receiver. So I'm basically just a receiver. That's all I am for that energy. So it doesn't matter where it's coming from. And everybody, if you tap into energy and learn how energy works, everyone's walked into a wedding or a birthday party and felt that high, elated energy. Or they've been in love, felt that high energy, right? And everybody's walked into a funeral and felt that low energy. So it's a matter of understanding how energy feels, first of all, so that you can even read a room when you walk into it, or know whether or not, this is somebody that you want to connect with in your business life or in your personal life, or it's someone that you don't want around you because the energy is very, very low. And low energy people, it's the old adage of misery likes company, right? So the people that you bring into your life are all on the same energetic vibration that you are. And if you don't like the people that you're surrounding yourself with, or that you're bringing into your life or into your business or anything else, raise your vibration, and you'll start bringing people in on a higher vibration.
And June, are there people that you come across that just don't have people around them, do you believe that everybody has somebody? So if somebody comes to you for a reading, are there times that you would turn around and go, I don't see anything, I can't, there's something blocking?
It doesn't really work that way. That, that's very unusual when there are people coming in with someone. That's unusual. Okay. Yeah. Usually someone will, tell me who they want to talk to, and I have them call them in their head by their name, and I describe who shows up. Now I can see like a semicircle of lots and lots of people, because everyone that's connected will suddenly show up, hoping they'll either get called on or I'll mess up and say, let anybody through, and boom, they're all trying to get through. I have what's called a gatekeeper on the other side. And my gatekeeper is the one steady person that's with me all the time. And everyone has a gatekeeper. And his job is specifically to bring the souls through one at a time, and only let them through to me when I'm working, unless it's an emergency. That's I've only had 2 souls come through to me when I was not working that were emergencies. Other than that, I can't be on all the time. I can't have them coming to me all the time. You just can't be like that. When my abilities first opened up again about 10 or 11 years ago, it was 1,000 times worse than when I was a child. And I woke up in the morning again with 20 or 30 souls around my bed, because your energy attracts them. Yeah. And when they know you hear them and see them, it attracts them. It's just like if you have a haunted house. If you got one ghost in your house, let me tell you, you've got a lot of ghosts in your house, because they'll all converge there.
It's the party house.
I know.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
So the ones that come through, they are most of them like they have passed on and they are to that, to that next level, or are they in that like in between?
So there's no such thing as an in between.
Okay.
They're either stuck here, okay, in low vibration, which is human beings are in low vibration. Okay. Your soul is who you are. You're not the suit that sits here, but you're in a lower vibration when you're here, because you're in the 3D realm right here. When you go to sleep at night, your vibration actually rises and you go into that dream state, that sandwich state. That's 4D. And the lowest level of heaven is 5D. So if you're not connecting with them during the day and raising your vibration so that you can hear them and talk to them, then what they'll do is they'll lower their vibration and meet you in your dream state at night, that 4D space. So you'll know it's a visit because it seems real. You wake up right away and you remember it all. That is a visit from the other side. It's not a dream. Okay. So your soul, part of it's in your body. Part of it is over your body that people call an aura that some people can see. And the majority of your body, of your soul, is in the lowest level of heaven, 5D. And it orchestrates the timing of all the events that happen in your life. So when you're meditating and you're getting in touch with your soul, you're not just getting in touch with the soul that's inside your body. You're getting in touch with the majority of your soul that's in the lowest level of heaven. And that has all the knowledge of all your lifetimes. So this is why you suddenly start getting downloads. Your ears will ring if you're doing that and getting in touch with your soul, and your vibration rises exponentially. And then when you can learn how to balance your energy out, you can keep it at that level. And this is where the law of attraction kicks in.
So what made you start writing with the books? And
I had been working on my autobiography for years. And when my kids were young, they'd find it on my computer and I'd have to delete the whole thing. And then I had it on a disc that I lost. So I started it all over from scratch again about 10 years ago, or 9 or 10 years ago. And I was working on that. I was teaching psychic development and mediumship development. And I just kept hearing, you got to write the book. You got to write the book. And I'm like, I'm writing the book. And they're like, no, not that book. I'm like, what? And they're like, you need to write a book about what you're teaching so that the students have something to take home as a handbook. I'm like, oh, okay. I said, well, if you want me to do that, you're going to have to help me do it because I'm writing this book. I'm taking care of my mom who's passing and I'm teaching as well. So I channeled the highest guide I could on the other side and I wrote and published my first book in 6 weeks. Then I went back and finished my autobiography and published that. And the reason that I published my autobiography is because too many people would come to me for counseling, relationship issues and things. And it's like, oh, well, you don't know what I've been through. You can't imagine growing up like I did. You don't know the burdens that I carry. I'm like, really? There's not much I've been through in life that you haven't been. So please don't cry me a river. You know, if I can do it, you can do it. And that was the reason that I wrote my autobiography. And then I created the Relationship Mastery Program. And that's because everybody kept coming to me for help about their relationships. So again, it was divinely guided and it's a 7-week program. I really put the program together in just a couple of months, but it took me over almost a year and a half to get all the automation done because I did everything myself. It was a real learning process. But I put hundreds of people through that program and I only work with one person in the relationship, not two. Mm-hmm. It only takes one person to make or break any situation in life. And when you change, everything else around you changes because for every action, there's an equal or greater reaction. And I would never tell anyone whether or not they should stay in the relationship they're in because that's not my call. That's your call, but only when you're in touch with your soul. So we have a brain in our heads, right? As in this 3D body, and our brain is a computer and it helps you process your information. But your brain has a very specific job. Your brain's job is to protect you. How does it do that? It does it by creating fear. So people are making all their decisions in life based on fear. And when you do that, it's literally a 50-50 crapshoot. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't work out, but you're always questioning your decision. So when you can get in touch with your soul, that's the knowing. You know what you're supposed to do. You don't question it. You just do it. And it works out 1,000%. And when you can see it from a higher perspective and understand why you're there, hence the reason all fair and love and karma, there's 5 soul lessons you have to learn. And that's the reason that I wrote the book. So people can identify those. Why do you keep going through the same stuff with different people? How come you can't keep money in your life? It goes right out of your hands. What's going on?
Yeah.
When you're talking, obviously there's 4 of us here. Do you, when you're like, do you feel like energy's from us just talking or how does, I'm so fascinated by this. I'm kind of mind blown.
I pick up on energy everywhere. It's what I do. It's,
that must be
you guys have great energy. You guys have great. It's not exhausting because you have to learn how to channel energy.
Yeah.
And one of the best things I can recommend to people is go take a Reiki class. because a Reiki class will teach you how to become a piece of wire and channel the energy through you. You don't ever want to use your energy. You want to channel the energy through you. That's what it's all about. And when I'm connecting to the other side, it's my soul that's connecting. The only time my body ends up feeling any of it is by talking for hours on end and doing 6 or 8 hours or sitting for 6 or 8 hours. My body will start feeling the tired effects of that, but certainly not from the energy. You get more energy from that energy because it raises your vibration.
And how do you deal with people who are like super skeptical about it? Because I again, when people don't understand or they have no experience of it themselves, do you find it insulting or do you even bother?
Well, it's not insulting to me. Our belief system is based on what we've learned and what we've experienced. And once you've experienced something different, your belief system changes. Yeah. So quite honestly, I never believed in Jesus or saints or angels. I never believed in any of those things. I was brought up in many religions. And although I always believed there was a higher power, I thought the rest of it was a bunch of hooey. People sitting there, chanting on beads and, Mother Mary statue in the bathtub on the lawn or in the car. Well, let me tell you something. After dying and coming back, they are all very, very real. Every religion is right. Every religion is wrong. And all of these saints and all of these angels, they all exist and they all are there to help us. And it's real. It's very, very real. I've brought through, first angel that ever came through to me was an archangel. And it was so overwhelming and so huge. I was on my knees on the floor in tears. And that she came through when I was doing Reiki on a client. It was just unbelievable. So yeah, your belief system changes when something happens. So if somebody comes to me and they think I'm full of crap, I'm this, and that's fine. That's your belief system. My job isn't to change you. My job is to try and help the people that want to learn something different. Everyone that's listening to this podcast, there's nothing random in this world. Everything happens for a reason. There's something that I'm saying that's important to you and is meant for you. So at some point in time, everyone experiences a miracle. It always happens. And I've only known one atheist in my life, and he was a good friend of mine. I never knew he was an atheist. And we had a conversation one day, and he told me, and I was shocked. And he says, well, yeah, I think we're just like ants. And when it's done, it's over. I'm like, oh my God, no. And, fast forward a few years, I asked him again, so you're still an atheist? I'm just curious. He goes, no, absolutely not. I said, well, what happened? He goes, I can't talk about it. I'm like, oh, okay. But something usually, I've never met an atheist on their deathbed. I really haven't. Yeah. Even my own father, who, my mother was crazy and, thought I was nuts doing what I'm doing. When he was dying, asked me one day, when I went up to see him, he was in his bed. I said, he says, I want to talk to you about what you do. I said, oh, really? Okay. What do you want to know? He's like, well, he goes, I wake up every morning and I see my mother standing by my bed. I want to know why. And then I want to know why she disappears after like a minute. I said, it's about time you see her. She's been standing here for about a year. I said, she's going to be helping you when it's time to go to the other side. She'll bring you with her. Well, how come she disappears? I said, because you're fine seeing her when you're in your 4D dream state, but as soon as you wake up, your brain engages and you can't believe that she's there. So you don't see her.
That's incredible.
I think that how can you walk through this life? I know we've talked about this before, but like, how can you walk through this life and not feel that there needs to be a higher purpose and there's a reason that you're going through what you're going through? Because otherwise, why suffer? Why feel the pain? Why,
everything is relative, right?
Right.
Everything's relative and everything's perspective. So we come here for a lot of reasons. When you think about it, we're on the other side for quite a long time. Eternity is a long, long time. And when you're on the other side, you don't have a body, so you can't smell, you can't taste, you can't have sex. There's lots of things you can't do without a body. And we learn our lessons faster here than we do on the other side, and we learn them faster still within a relationship. So we come here for a mini vacation. We come here to learn our lessons that we're supposed to be learning, our soul lessons. And we come here to collect our karma or pay karma. Now, karma is created when you do something to someone else in this lifetime and you do not have remorse and you do not make amends. Okay? So even if you can't make amends, at least if you have remorse, you may not be creating karma. You might be, you might not be. But karma is not really a bad thing. Okay? Karma is there to help teach. So let's just say that you stole money from someone in a past lifetime. You didn't pay them back and you said, too bad. Well, now you've created karma with that person in a past lifetime. You owe them in this lifetime. When they come back in this lifetime, doesn't mean they're going to steal from you. They might become your boss and teach you how money works and that you have to earn money and the value of money. So they're always trying to teach you and help you with your lessons. So there's 3 types of relationships. There is the karmic relationship. And you know it's a karmic relationship because it never really feels right. There's always something that you can't put your finger on. You're looking for red flags. And it doesn't matter if it's a sexual relationship, a friendship, or a family member. Okay? And as soon as one or the other of you have learned the lesson you're supposed to be learning, a karmic relationship ends immediately. It's like you wake up one morning and say, why do I have this person in my life? I want nothing to do with them, and you're done. If you've both learned the lesson, then it will end amicably. If only one or the other has learned the lesson, it will end, but it will not be amicable. Okay? Then you have the soulmate relationship. Soulmate relationship is also there to teach you something, or you can teach the other person. However, it's also there to afford you some love and comfort along the way. And a soulmate relationship does not have to end once one or the other has learned the lesson. That really depends on what you wrote into your life plan, because you planned this life before you got here, believe it or not. And nothing really happens to you, but it happens for you. So if you can't stay on track for your plan, the universe steps in to give you a little push. That's what they do. And you may not like the push you get. Say you're supposed to move and you keep putting it off and hemming and hawing and I don't want to move. Blah, blah, blah. Well, they might burn your house down. So you've got no choice but to move, right? Put you back on the path that you planned before you came here. Then there's a twin flame relationship, which is extremely rare. There's way too much misinformation all around the internet because of all the movies that came out. A twin flame is literally one soul that's split in 2 and then reincarnated into 2 bodies. And they will always come back into 2 separate bodies after that point. And they will meet at some predetermined time in this lifetime. And when it happens, it's always extremely sexual, extremely passionate, extremely psychic, and it just blows your world up and puts you on the path that you're supposed to be on in life. And then you separate, and they only last for a few weeks to a few months. And if you're both able to learn the 5 lessons that you're supposed to be learning and getting on the path that you're supposed to be on, and twin flames have a higher path than most people, they're here to help humanity, then you'll have an opportunity to reunite in this lifetime. Otherwise, you won't, and you'll have to wait till you get to the other side again. But they're very heart-wrenching relationships because nothing will ever compare to that. So for the rest of your life, you're going to be settling if you decide to be with someone else.
So interesting.
So you think that then when you're talking about learning lessons that we just kind of rotate and recycle until once you've learned your lessons, you don't do that anymore? Or how does
so that? You also, let me explain the 5 lessons, because some people need all of them. Some people needed some of them, but the lessons are always reinforcing each other. Okay. So the first lesson is self-worth, and self-worth is not value. Value is what other people place on you. Self-worth is the understanding that you are so special that the universe felt that we needed you here. There is only one of you. That's it. Even if you're a twin, you're different. Now I heard today that they have different fingerprints. I'm going to have to research that. I didn't know that. But you definitely have different thoughts, different ideas, and I guarantee you your parents can tell you apart. But there's only one of you here. That's it. And it's understanding that it is not selfish and it's not narcissistic to put yourself first. Society wants you to think that. It's where everything else comes from. If you can't take care of you, How are you ever going to take care of anybody else? You won't be here to take care of anybody else, right? And no one else has power over you to make you do anything. I can't make you love me. I can't make you hate me. No one has that power but you. So no one can make you happy but you either. I'm always hearing, oh, when this happens, I'll be happy. When I meet that person, I'll be happy. No, you have to be happy first. And then your happiness will ping pong off of other people. And you will attract someone else that's happy as well. And you also have to practice self-love. That all comes with self-worth. You have to love yourself for who you are. And if you don't like who you are, change who you are. If there's something about you that you don't like, change it. If you've got a bad habit that you don't like, change it. You have to like you, whoever you are, for who you are. And no matter what you look like, because again, that's not who you are. You're the soul inside. That's who you truly are. The second lesson we all come to learn is trust and communication. And you have to trust that there's a higher power, because there is. There's only one, no matter what you want to call it. And you have to trust that there's a plan and that you made the plan. So whatever is happening in your life, again, it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. And you may not understand it at the time, but 2020 vision is wonderful, isn't it? We can always look back and see the breadcrumbs of our life and how everything brought us to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and how you were going through that terrible ordeal. And after, it's like, oh my God, if that hadn't happened, I would never have been here, right? Mm-hmm. That's how it works. So you have to trust the plan, and you have to be able to communicate your wants and your needs to the people around you, whether it's a partner, an employee, a child. People don't know what you want and what you need unless you tell them. We just don't know by osmosis, okay? And you also have to be able to trust the person enough that you're with to communicate with them, because sex is nothing more than another form of communication in the bedroom. If you don't trust them and communicate with them outside the bedroom, you're not going to be able to do it inside the bedroom. Then you have unconditional love. Now, people will argue with me that, oh no, there's always a condition. Well, then you have to learn how to remove that condition. Mm-hmm. That's your challenge in life. Because let's say you're in an abusive relationship and you're playing the martyr and you're staying in it because I'm supposed to love them unconditionally. I can't leave. Well, that's a self-worth lesson that's kicking in, right? Unconditional love would be saying to the person and meaning it, listen, it was a good run, okay? I really want the best for you. I love you and care about you, but I love me and care about me too. We need to go our separate ways. It's not working. Mm-hmm. It's not bad-mouthing them once you're down the street either. Mm-hmm. It's really wanting them to have the best in their life, and you can have the best in your life. Let's say you had a child that you love unconditionally, and they do something horrific. Say they murder a neighbor in a fit of rage, and they go to prison for the rest of their life. You don't like what your child did, but I sure hope you're still going to unconditionally love that child. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. And then you have money and balance. So what people don't realize is that money is energy. This is why it's called currency. And everything in the universe has to stay in balance. We have evil and good. We have night and day, left and right. And money is the tool that we use in this 3D world to show whether or not your life is in balance. Everything has to be an even exchange of energy. You don't walk into a grocery store and plop down $1 million to buy a gallon of milk. Not yet. It has to be an even exchange, okay? When I first started my relationship mastery program, I gave it to some veterans at no charge. Do you know they didn't do it? Because it had no value. Mm-hmm. It was free. It has to be an equal exchange of energy. Let's say you're working 80 hours a week and you're trying to save your money and get ahead. Well, now your life's completely out of balance. You don't have time for your family, your friends, your own hobbies. And then if you're not spending that money, you don't have enough self-worth to even spend the fruits of your labor on yourself. Then self-worth kicks back in, right? It keeps circling back around. And people have to understand, because money is energy, it has to flow, just like energy does. The more you put out, the more comes back. The more you put out, the more comes back. You can't just sit there and hoard it. That's not what it's there for. And the last lesson that we have is patience. Patience is very difficult for people nowadays because we live in this world of instant gratification, right? Mm-hmm. Everything comes to you at the perfect time. the time that you planned it. How ridiculous would it be if every little 5-year-old girl that wants to get married and have babies, right? They get their little baby dolls, the stork starts delivering them, or the UPS guy starts delivering them at the door, right? They come, everything happens and comes at the perfect time. And, you know, your biological clock is ticking. Oh, I haven't gotten married yet. Maybe you didn't write it into your plan yet, if that's the case. And it doesn't mean it's never going to happen. Maybe when you're 50, you're going to marry a widower and raise his young children for him. It really depends what you wrote in your plan. And this goes back to the trust. You've got to trust that you wrote the plan for your highest and best. And it will always work out that way as long as you trust it. There are things that I do that I have no idea why I'm doing them. I'm just hearing that I'm supposed to do them. And I have to trust that I'm supposed to do them, and I do them. And it may be a year or two later when, oh my God, this is why I'm doing this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I truly believe that's the way your life is supposed to be. I really
1,000%.
I agree too.
Everything that has happened to you, think it's such a disaster at the time, and then you realize why it happened, that it happened to you or for you, not to you. Like, it's just such an incredible lesson, life lesson for anybody to learn.
Yeah, because I mean,
It's difficult when you're in it. There's nothing worse than being in it.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than being in it, because it's like saying you can't see the forest for the trees.
right.
Okay. So you have to find something to remove yourself from the situation and stop being in it so that you can see the why behind it and the higher perspective. And when you can really start seeing your life from a higher perspective, you don't take all this stuff so seriously anymore, because you realize it's happening for a reason. It's part of my experience. It's part of my learning or my teaching. It's going to pass. The rainbow will be back.
Yeah, I mean, I just know for me personally, I mean, that's where you find peace, is when you realize that there is a purpose for everything, and that you're here for a reason, whatever that might be, but to trust the process. And even like through tough times, I mean, again, we've talked about all of this stuff, but you know, through tough times and heartache and sadness and stress and fear, if you can just have faith, and like you said, whatever that is, whatever faith it is, but when you can try your best to put faith before fear, it does bring a sense of peace that you just, again, you have to trust the process, that there's a reason.
There's always a reason. And it's interesting. So people pray, right? People pray. When you pray, you're asking the universe.
Yep.
When you meditate, when you get in touch with your soul through meditation, you get your answers.
Well, I am super excited for my reading on Friday with you, June. And again, I know this is much more my kind of thing. And so, because I do, I do believe in all of this. And I do absolutely believe that there's a higher power and that there's a purpose and there's a reason why each of us are here. So I think that you're just absolutely fascinating. And again, so incredibly excited and grateful that you wanted to come on. You wanted to talk to us. You wanted to just be really raw and, give us.
My pleasure. I mean, the more information that I can give people, the more I can help people understand and take away that fear. That's my goal.
It's amazing.
I so appreciate you wanting to share your story, because like you said, it's not easy sometimes to talk about because there is so many skeptics, and I love the fact that you're completely okay with that. And so I'm just grateful that you wanted to come and talk about something that really fascinates me. So I feel very selfish.
It's been great.
Can't just wait to hear about it.
Oh my
Yes,
goodness.
that's
I do. I feel very selfish because I am just like sitting here, which I'm not the quiet one of the group at all, but I have completely taken this in
Fascinating.
for the duration of us talking with each other. So
It's just so nice to talk to somebody completely different. Like, it's just something I know you've had, actually you've had experience of it, but the rest of it, well, I don't think anybody else has, but it's just,
this is me.
it's just fascinating. Fascinating.
Thank you so much. We really
You're
appreciate your
very
time.
welcome. You're
And
very
Ashley's
welcome. There's
looking forward-
videos on my website that people can go listen to and watch from my students. There's a free webinar they can sign up for and learn a little bit more about energy if they'd like.
Perfect.
So very cool.
No, thank you again.
Thank
and
you.
I will probably talk to you on Friday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much,
Bye-bye.
June. Have such a great evening.
Thank you. You as well.
Just so excited that like the movie Ghost was true. Because that was all the medium. That was all like what she was based.
Yeah, I mean,
around
like
that
I said, guys,
character.
I think it's easy for me because I believe in this stuff. And
you know,
so, you know,
I
It's so
totally believe in it
interesting.
too. I like some of it
struggling.
I'm struggling with.
I'm
but-
struggling.
and that's I think that's the beauty of it.
yeah.
Is that's totally fine. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care. I know
Yeah,
y'all
yeah.
don't care. And I think that's the thing is just being okay if someone thinks a different way.
We just said that last week
Yep.
Oh,
about that, about having different opinions, and that, that's okay. And I would love to believe, but like this is my question. I didn't ask her because I ask enough questions. But why do you think, like you said, your uncle came to you?
why I
do
was
you-
really oh, go ahead.
Well, like, why do you think, like, certain, like, I mean, I've had a lot of loss in my life. Like, why do you think, and I've never had that come through, why do you think that some people come through? And because I've always struggled with that, because I'm like, if anyone, like my dad, if he could come to me, like, I know he'd come to me. So why do you think that is? That some
Because I've
people
always
come-
been very open to it. And I mean, and again, it's not like someone loves someone more or whatever. It's not that at all. But I do think that there's a sense of you kind of have to believe a little bit for it to be open, because I mean, otherwise you'd probably be terrified. Like if you woke up and someone was standing there, or you know. So that's how I rationalize it, just because I'm super open to it. And again, but that's because that's part of my belief system.
But yeah, no, I don't think like the closest I would feel to a spirit in my life would be my grandmother. But I've never had a dream about her. Ever. She's never in my dreams, never. Although, did I tell you the story about her picture falling in my house?
No.
My grandmother, my husband was very, very close to my grandmother. They only knew each other for a very short time.
Right.
And he carries her memoriam card around everywhere. She goes everywhere with him. She goes and does his Iron Man. He just adored her, and she loved him. As I said, it was a very brief kind of relationship. And when we had moved to Georgia initially, Scott had been offered a job back up in Pennsylvania. And we were sitting in our sitting room, and we were sitting opposite each other in the armchairs opposite each other. And on the bookcase or upside the TV, my grandmother's picture is there, and she's on every bookcase in every house we've ever lived in. That's where she stays. And we were just talking, and Scott was like, I just don't know what to do. I wish somebody would just tell me what to do. And with that, her picture fell over. Like there was no reason for her picture to fall over. It just actually fell over. And the two of us were like, oh my gosh.
What's she saying?
Oh my God. Yeah, then he was mad that she didn't give like a yes or a no. But like strange things like that always kind of happen. And if, you know, but she's never come to me and it, like never seen her in a dream. And I would be open to spirits. I'm open for it. I'd like bring on the ghosts. I'm happy for them
Maybe
to
they're
be
just
there. It's just weird.
Yeah, but you're at peace with it. I think
Maybe,
like,
yeah,
you know, I think that like anytime I've had a situation like that, I wasn't at peace with what happened.
Yeah.
And I was very much struggling. And so that's the only thing I think. Cause I mean, obviously
Maybe.
I don't have like, I don't have any, like nothing. I just believe in this stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't, you know,
I was trying to pull my dad through. I'm like, okay, Dad, if this is real,
let's do it.
say something.
Let her stop in the middle of this and go, hey, Trisha, hang on a sec.
Tap her on the shoulder.
Yeah.
Tap her on the shoulder.
But maybe you should do it though. Maybe you should do it to see.
You're not going to hell if you do it. You're not. You can do it for 30 minutes.
And just see what happens.
I don't see the harm in it.
Yeah.
I just was taking it all in. Like
I would love
everything.
It was very interesting.
Be open and get that. And I think it's just the scientist part of me is
But that's
So why don't you do a reading then? That would be even more fascinating.
It would
You
be.
should both
just
do
to see.
I mean, seriously, like you can come away from it saying that's a crock of shit, totally fine. Or you can come away.
We won't do that on air, obviously.
I would not recommend doing it here. No. Well, first of all, because if someone does connect with you and you feel like your soul feels like you are actually hearing something that you're supposed to hear, it's incredibly emotional. And I'm one, as we've talked about forever, I do not cry. It makes me nauseous. Like literally, physically, I have a reaction to it. which I know Dr. Pam,
I know.
there's
I'm
something
having
to that. I know there's something to it. No, I feel it. I know. I'm working on it. But it can be very emotional and it's very raw. And then the beauty of it is that you feel what you're supposed to feel. So it's okay either way. Like it's, you know.
Will you tell me how it goes and then
I will.
I think
do you
you should.
feel your dad around you all the time anyway?
I think so. I mean, I want that, but I don't know if it's what I want or what I'm really feeling.
Do you talk to him?
Uh-huh.
So like maybe that's the reason you don't need to. Yeah, but you can close your eyes and see him.
Yeah.
I
think because they are with us.
Yeah.
I mean, 1,000%. And sometimes that's perfection because it's not just a dream. It's that if you feel them, they are there. They are there. So
Cheers to that.
Cheers to ghosts.
Cheers. Here we are.
I know. Twilight Zones.
Thank you for joining the ladies of the Middle AGEish podcast as they journey through the ups and downs of this not young, but definitely not old season of life. To hear past episodes or make suggestions for future episodes, visit www.middleageish.com. That's www.middleageish.com. You can follow along on social media at Middle AGEish. Also, if you have a moment to leave a review, rate, and subscribe, that helps others find the show, and we greatly appreciate it. Once again, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you in the next episode of the Middle AGEish podcast.